1 and a 2 and a 3 and a... Hey, Trish.
Hey, Corey.
How are you?
I'm good.
This is your weekly episode of the Cheshire Cast. I've already introduced myself, so I'm doing this whole intro thing backwards. But everything's backwards right now because we're still in quarantine. We're hunkered down in the bunker. Spent all this time getting the new studio set up. And I can't even have guests now. So the studio...
Well, you technically you have guests, just not physically.
Yeah. So the studio, I will tell you, is a complete shit show. I have made a mess of this whole place.
Is there stuff on every surface?
Yes.
Oh, that would drive me crazy.
Jen comes back here and she's
back.
like, I'm leaving.
You've been a total tech head in there. You've been hosting like a million different things.
Well, so
that's how you're coping.
Well, yeah, all things being considered, I do have anxieties and I do have depression, and I'm not afraid to share those things. And part of how I manage those things is to do a lot of these extrovert social things, because I was told that if you move a muscle, you change a thought. And in order to break out of some of those things, I work hard to break out of my shell of isolation. Otherwise, I would hide in a corner, put a blanket over my head, and disappear. So I connect myself with people. And over the last, 2 weeks, almost a week and a half, I've been hosting nightly Zoom meetings. It's we call it Spaz's Quarantine Cantina or Quarantina Cantina. We're just playing with it, and people log in and we have fun and we talk. But
the Quarantine Cafe, I thought it was.
That was another one, Quarantine Cafe.
They all work. I
should invite our guest. Tonight we have Matt Colhour with us again. Hi, Matt.
Hey guys, how are you? Thanks for having me back.
Yeah. I should invite Matt into our quarantine cafe one night so he can see what it's all about. But basically, it's a bunch of people hanging out, being honest, having fun, having some beers, and trying to fight off their feelings of isolation, and creating a sense of connected community.
I think it's so funny how different people react and relate differently to the world, because I have the opposite. I love being isolated with my family. And I acknowledge it might not be the healthiest way to feel, but man, I've been having zero problems with being a complete and total introvert for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's sorry, gotta get rid of this. Yeah, I should totally not look at Facebook while I'm doing the show. It's not a good idea.
Oh, that's what you're doing.
Yeah, no, I totally got distracted. So we,
you're in the middle of doing a show, Corey.
I know. It's totally not cool.
I thought you went somewhere else, and then I thought it was a tech problem.
No,
I do want to mention that we booked Matt, obviously before quarantine, before everything is going down with COVID, a while ago.
Yeah, he was supposed to come in with a guest.
And when we originally booked him, the production of the show was basically going to be, you were one of our first guests. Way back, like a year and a half ago, maybe around. I didn't look at the exact date, but about then. And I wanted to do like fast forward a year and a half. How are you doing? What's changed in your business? How is it going? You have all these great new things. And instead, the production of the show, equally as important, is now going to be based on small business perspective in the time of COVID-19.
Yeah.
So that's just to show you how incredibly quickly life moves. And, not all bad things. I mean, there's a lot of really ugly, dangerous stuff going on right now, but your mic's off. Okay. We want to hear what your needs might be as a small business, how you're improvising, how it's affecting you, and all those things.
I think it's important to give a little bit of his background, because unless people go back and listen to the show, so Matt and his wife run the nonprofit Small World Languages, which is a school that helps youth.
Teaches languages to kids.
Yes, thank you. You're much better at this than I am. I'm leaving. You take over.
Matt, you tell us. You opened about a year and a half ago, right?
Yes.
2 years ago?
Yeah, we're a little over 2 years old now.
Okay.
My wife and I are both engineers by training, and we tried to put our 4-year-old, almost 4-year-old at that time, into language lessons. She had expressed interest in learning some Spanish based on her exposure to preschool. And we said, great, let's put you in lessons. There's lessons for music, there's lessons for dance, there's all sorts of kid activities. There has to be language for kids, and there really wasn't. Or it was far away, or it wasn't really accessible. So we said, well, let's start this. And about 2 years ago, we set up shop here in Cheshire and started teaching languages to kids. And no real language experience. I speak a little bit of Spanish, but it's all the teachers that we hire.
Sure.
I have some business background, and so we said, well, we'll run the business and we'll hire a bunch of great teachers. And most of the teachers that we hired in the first set 2 years ago are still with us. So it's been well received, I think, by the community, by our teachers, and by the school districts now. I mean, we can get into that later, but we were expanding into the public school systems.
When we last spoke, I don't think you were in the schools yet, but I think that was your trajectory. So you made it from your own classroom and you started working in the schools. Was it an after school program, or how did you offer yourselves?
Yeah, so it was all after school program. I mean, we started in Hamden. Hamden had actually reached out to us and said, hey, we have an idea. We've identified a need. Would you guys run this program? We said, absolutely. We wanted to get into it anyway. And within 2 or 3 months, we had talked to central office in Cheshire, superintendent's office, and started running programs in Doolittle and Highland. And then this spring, we were about to launch Southington as a new program over there. We've been talking to Wallingford, Middlebury, North Haven, other schools in Southington. We were expanding into Norton and Chapman. So the after-school programs were really where our bread and butter was starting to turn into, because of the convenience of, hey, I can leave my kid at school for an extra hour. They can do something academic in nature. It's something that we wanted in the elementary schools anyway.
Language exposure.
Yeah, I mean, with the school we were going to launch in Southington at South End Elementary School, they had Spanish up there at the elementary schools. And when budget cuts came, that was one of the programs that got cut. And all the parents at that school, I mean, there were cross-registered families saying, I'm going to send my kid to that school because that school has Spanish. And so they were really anxious to get a program back, even if it's a pay-to-play, so to speak, and an after-school type program. But we were geared up there for a while, and to some extent still are, to launch heavy into after-school programs to as many local.
You're just on pause right now.
Yeah, pause.
That's it. It's just a pause. It's not a loss. A pause. Did you have your own school? I remember we were talking about like a daycare center where the teachers spoke like an immersion language. Did you ever launch that, or did that fall by the wayside because the other thing was so wanted, needed, and successful?
Yeah, last summer we had what we called summer immersion programs, and we were going to do that this summer as well, where they're drop-off programs for like a week, 2 hours a day, and drop your son or daughter or multiple children off, and we just speak Spanish to them. Or French, or Italian, or German, whatever it is.
It's a great way to learn.
And don't give them a choice, but we play games and do arts and crafts, and it was successful last year. We sold out our French. We sold out our
What's the age
German.
group?
So Small World Languages in general goes up to about grade 5, from birth to grade 5.
Even the camp over summer.
Yep.
Okay.
So we don't obviously drop off toddlers, but we start at age 3 for drop-offs. And we chose grade 5 because Cheshire teaches Spanish in grade 6. So Cheshire's doing a pretty good job of trying to bring the languages down to the younger ages.
Budgetary.
Yeah, it's budgetary. It's what do you cut from their curriculum? It's where do you find the certified teachers? They're in high demand. So it's more of it's not a should we do it? It's how do we do it? That's the holdup. And I think the after school programs sort of solve that problem for the schools.
Is the after school program subsidized by the Board of Ed?
No, it's not subsidized by the Board of Ed at all. In fact, we sort of spun it the other way. And at some of the schools, we give a portion of the registration back to the PTOs. So we do it as a fundraiser for the PTOs.
Like a donation.
Yeah, it all sort of depends on the school district. Hamden, we run scholarship programs, so we allow.
So that's why you run it as a nonprofit.
Yeah, that's part of the reason. Exactly. Yeah, is exactly for that.
So with everything going on right now, the coronavirus thing, in case you are unaware, that's what we're dealing with right now. How has that impacted you so far, and what are you doing to get creative and overcome it?
Specifically, the school closures.
Yeah, well, I mean, that hurt the most, and we're in the same position as all of the small businesses out there. We're not unique in that sense at all. Everybody's struggling, trying to figure out how to continue paying their workers or their teachers or their labor force, and to do it without revenue or severely decreased revenues. So our after school programs, like I said, were our bread and butter, and when the schools shut down for that length of time, it's really hurting us. I mean, there's a chance that we don't recover from this. I mean, we can't hold classes in our school. We can't hold the classes in the after school, at the schools. So luckily our landlords over there at the United Methodist Church have been understanding with us and are being flexible with us. So, shout out to them and thank you for that. Trying to help us all recover from this, but depending upon how long it goes, I mean, you might not see smaller languages back in the fall, which I think would just be a shame and poor timing for everything going on. But we converted to online classes. So we have a couple of teachers that really rely on the jobs they have with us to pay their bills. And, we don't have the money to pay them while we're not teaching classes. So we tried to launch some very, very affordable online Zoom or Google Hangouts or FaceTime classes so that the kids could stay engaged while we're shut down. It's been well received, but certainly not a sustainable type of program, both from the cost perspective of the parents and our teachers all agreed to take severe pay cuts just to keep something coming in so that we could run those programs.
Wow.
Are there any state offerings going on right now that might benefit you?
Yeah,
of?
We're looking into it. Certainly, we're following both at the federal level, the state level. We've been in contact with our state representatives, state senators, and to see what type of programs are out there and what help. There's a bunch of community foundations around that we've applied and already had applied for grants for programs like this. None of them have come through yet, but we're hopeful on some. And this was another reason that we converted to a nonprofit, because now we're an IRS recognized 501c3 and donations to Small World Languages are fully tax deductible according to your situation. But, we are a certified nonprofit now from the IRS.
Has that helped with enrollment and getting more students since you switched over to the 501c3 or?
Yeah, it's helped on a bunch of fronts. I mean, on one of the reasons we did it is to try to open ourselves up to the type of donation that I'm talking about, or the grant money, so that we could lower the prices. I mean, we were always after accessibility for kids, right? The more that we can get exposed to world language, the better. And it shouldn't cost $30, $40, $50 an hour to do it. So the lower we can drive the prices, the better off we'll be. And we did that when we went nonprofit. We cut our prices by like 30, 33%. It definitely helped with the schools and expanding the after school program, because now in having the discussion with the schools that, hey, this is a service that we provide, they're a little bit less skeptical, I should say, of the program by saying, hey, we're a nonprofit and this is our mission, rather than, hey, I'm the owner and I want this as profit to pay my mortgage. So it has helped on that front, and I do think it has helped with enrollment. People sort of saying, "Hey, this is a cool program, and I'm glad our community has this, and we're going to sign our kids up."
So I've also been running into you on a regular basis on the weekends now. I run into you at Peter's 2 for breakfast.
I just found that spot. Is that amazing or what? That I just ran into that this winter.
I'm surprised because been going there with my parents on the weekends for years.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
It's a local breakfast joint, right?
Okay.
Right in the same plaza that Dairy Queen is in.
Okay.
It's called Peter's 2. And Matt and his wife and their daughter are there on the weekends. And typically the same time I'm there with my parents or Jen or my kids. And we talk and say hello, hi and stuff.
He doesn't pretend not to know you?
No. I think the first time he thought I was pretending not to know him, because when you see somebody outside
and you're like, I know you,
and you look at him I did that for probably 10 minutes, and it's like, oh, I know who that is.
I'm awful with faces like that.
I think I ended up sending you a text like, "Hey, I see you over there."
And, I'm that strange guy.
Then Corey was able to connect the dots. Like, okay, now I get who this is now.
Yeah, but
it's been a minute.
It's just funny. How do you? Man, my mind just keeps going back to everything that's going on. I mean, small business. I mean, you have a way to survive, at least on some level. You can keep some semblance of functionality, but these small restaurants. I mean, CJ Sparrow, Peter's 2, Virons, all of these places. They can't sustain off of takeout. It's
certain families can't even do takeout. I can't even do takeout. I can't bring anything into my home.
Well,
anything that comes into my home has to be disinfected before it comes in.
Yeah.
My groceries are in quarantine. They can't come in. I'm immunocompromised. I cannot get sick.
How do you?
I need an ICU bed if I get sick, and they don't have them for me, so I have to wait.
So how does that work for you, Trish? Like, what your groceries are just sitting in the garage for 2 days, or?
It depends on what material it is. So plastic stuff is brought in with gloves. My husband handles it. We bring it. We put it directly into the sink, and it gets washed with soap and water like a dish. And all of any food gets taken immediately out of any of its packaging, and we use different surfaces to do that. And we figured out a procedure, and so far I'm on day 13 of 0 outside contact, and we're all, knock on wood, I hate to say it out loud, but we're all still healthy.
Yeah.
And I may get it and be fine, or I may get it and my body attacks my thyroid. I can't take the chance, because as soon as I have a thyroid issue, I have to go in the hospital. It affects my heart immediately.
Yeah.
So I can't do takeout, and I miss it, and I want to support restaurants. I want to help in some way. When you get into these types of situations, community wise, I mean, this is global. Obviously, this isn't only local.
No.
But you have to think locally, otherwise it's kind of overwhelming. So
well, you are helping.
By having Matt on the show tonight, I'm hoping to maybe air some needs by the small business community, or ways that people can help that are homebound. I know I donated to the food pantry. I tried to anonymously donate money. It's not easy to donate money if you can't physically touch anything.
Right.
So I wanted to donate to a family in need, and there's no way to do that anonymously without being able to buy a gift card and give a gift card. So we're all learning new ways to live. And my family is a bit restricted more than others because of me. They're very understanding, and we've really not been truly, it doesn't feel like a hardship so far. We've been able to really just be comfortable being home, and just knowing that this is what we have to do to all be safe. But I see, like, my sister lives a different type of quarantine that's safe for her, and But how do you help stuck in a house?
Mm-hmm.
So as a small business owner, with the aid that's coming in the form of maybe government help, how are small businesses going to be helped by this first? I know it's the first of many, but this first round of virus relief. Like, do you know how a small business is going to be helped, or are there ways in which you can think of that a small business could be helped that maybe isn't being talked about yet?
Oh man,
Huh.
I feel like you could teach a college course on stuff like that.
Right?
Well, you have 15 minutes. I won't interrupt you.
I am not going to let you prattle on for 15 minutes.
3.
You've got like 45 seconds maybe.
If it's good, a minute.
The first thing that we did, right, was call all of our fixed bills, right? Whether it's rent, insurance, whatever the case is, and say, hey, we're all in this together. Like, we can either make you whole on the back end, or let's push pause on everything, because
how'd that work out?
It worked out great for our lease. I mean, like I said, our United Methodist Church, where our school is located, and they are our landlord.
Is that your biggest bill? Physical space, rent?
Yes.
Okay, so the first thing you were doing was like, okay, let's find out what's going on rent wise, mortgage, rent. Okay,
exactly. But it's all a trickle down. I mean, right? Because then it's them losing the income to pay their bills, right? So it's not a me problem. It's an everybody problem, right?
Across the board.
How do we all do this together? In terms of the state aid and the national aid, I mean, I don't really know. I don't want to prescribe anything to anybody, right? It's all sort of what's going to work. Yeah. I mean, what is definitely going to happen, and I've been following the situation closely from my full-time job. We are going to lose small businesses. We're going to lose breakfast places. We're going to lose childcare centers.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, there's
childcare centers are still open, I thought.
Nope, they're not. I mean,
under 12.
They can be. They're not forced to shut down, but that doesn't mean that they are. Where my daughter goes, where my middle child goes, they shut down, and they may not come back. So what's going to happen next fall, if this plays out through the spring, is there's going to be a bunch of childcare centers that shut down, and all of a sudden we don't have the capacity to have enough childcare.
Right.
It's very Darwinian.
Right.
It's like economic Darwinism.
Right. You hate to say it that way, right? But I mean, or
if the
business owner has money, right? That's another way. Is okay. Well, to stay alive, I have to pump another $5,000 a month into this to pay.
That's economic fitness, huh?
And hopefully on the back end, I'll get this back in good business. But it's restaurants are going to go out, gyms are going to go out of business, like places are going to go out of business. They already have. I mean, it's you could just Google it and find all of the restaurants. I mean, the Wooden Tap restaurants closed entirely. They're not out of business, but they said we're not even doing takeout, and
yeah, I mean, you can't.
Takeout's hard
for so long until you run out of money.
You'd be surprised what losing 1 week of business can do. I mean, just 1 week can devastate a business.
That must be such a strange and stressful existence prior to
a
global pandemic, a week-to-week basis of running a business. But that's how restaurants specifically, right? They live on that edge, and they're trying to feed people too. Like, and I don't just mean their customers; they're feeding the children of the people that work at their establishment.
Yep. And here,
the stress of that must be so overwhelming.
And here's the catch-22. This is the thing that I'm starting to realize. Being an administrator of the local community forum, I'm seeing lots of people with the call to support local business. But there's also a strong suggestion of stop making physical contact. Don't go outside. And then there's the other thing where people are out of work. So
I can't support a local business because I have to buy groceries.
Yeah, so there's so many things at play. So you've got
and it's constantly changing.
Oh yeah. So you've got the call to support local business, but then you've got the guys that love to support the local business that aren't able to go to work. So they're being bombarded with the support local business thing, and they're going, I want to, but I can't.
Fired.
I just got laid off. the theaters, I have a lot of friends that work in the arts. The theaters are all shut down. Tours are all canceled, like through the beginning of the summer. So I got guys whose income stopped on the day that
no warning.
It was
either.
like, boom, done, no more income. And then there's this support local business, do everything, and people are. I think the thing that
this is just the beginning.
People aren't talking about the level of depression some of these things cause, and the fear and the anxiety, and the people
lack of control.
Unfortunately, I fear that we're gonna have another situation outside of this that we're going to need to deal with.
A mental health crisis.
Yes, thank you for saying it, because and I've
actually heard it. I've heard it mentioned, and there was a hotline put up today on the news, which I wish I had written down because it's so prevalent. They have a free hotline for mental health issues, where if you're having a specific issue on that specific day, you can call up and get free counseling. I think they have almost 7,000 volunteers in New York State. It's a 1-866 number.
7,000.
And you call up and you,
7,000.
7,000 doctors volunteering their time to deal with anybody who calls.
Think about that.
On any topic. And you can schedule an hour and you can call up and you can have mental health counseling from a professional for free.
Yep.
Right now. We have to get that number linked up.
Yeah, we can do that. And then here's what you were you were saying, what can you do, Trish? You're doing it right now. We have a fan base. People like what you and I have created. And for that one person, and you know me well enough to know that I believe in that one person. You change that one person and you help that one person, it's gonna,
and your goal is met.
Yes. And if that helps you find some comfort, we are indeed doing that much. We're trying to help small businesses get the word out of what their struggles are or what their needs are.
Yeah.
Even before this, that was one of the big things we wanted to do. And now, we're trying to do our part to highlight this. And, Matt's going to be the first of many that are coming.
I wonder, so while we go through this, and this is for X amount of time, because we don't know, our guests are going to continue to come on. Of course, all the shows change, and we are booked, I think, 2.5 months out. So we're not letting anybody out of their interviews, but the production of those episodes are going to change, and this is going to have an effect. Once the virus peaks and passes, it's going to be like recovery. So it is going to end. There will be an end to this. It's the unknown of the duration. It's the unknown of the impact. It's the unknown of, that really is, schools, the kids, my kids are fine with the distance learning. It was a tough transition. And even with you, Matt, the kids are young. It's hard for them to focus on a computer screen for X amount of time during the day and hold themselves responsible. My kids are older than the kids that you would teach. I have a 10-year-old who possibly could have been in a program like yours, but they're looking for stuff to do right now. They're not fully engaged. They do spend a lot of time playing video games, and I'm totally 100% behind that. They're social on their video games. They're hanging out with friends. They're laughing. They're giggling. They're being more social than I am because of this interaction, which lends itself to, people have a lot of time on their hands. A 15, 20-minute language, blast is not the worst thing in the world to offer all ages. I have a high schooler that could use it. So you're offering that. Like, how do people look that up?
Yep. So you can go right to our website for that. And we've built in times all over the week, weekday mornings, weekday afternoons, weekend mornings, weekend afternoons, all throughout the week. And we're just doing it in 2-week blocks right now because we don't know what's going on. So you have 45 minutes of a FaceTime or Skype or Zoom lesson, 45 minutes for $20, and you sign up for 2 weeks at a time until we see what happens with schools and the children's activities. You got to see the irony in it, though, right? I'm always an optimist, and I don't think there's many situations in life where you can't laugh as long as the context is correct. But before all of this happened, right? What was the big concern? Screen time, screen time, screen time. We don't want our kids to have too much screen time. And now we're clamoring for what are the right avenues where we can give our kids appropriate screen time.
Life would be so different without technology right now. Life without technology in this crisis would be unidentifiable. We're all finding commonalities and some semblance of structure and control and normalcy through technology.
Yeah.
If we didn't have, like I was telling my husband, there's a few things in a chain reaction in this type of situation that I'm comforted that I haven't seen yet. And I dread the day if one of them comes up. And one of them is a breakdown in electric or technology. As long as we have these things, water, power, internet, we can all keep our cool. Without it, we're going to lose our minds.
And it's all relative too, though, right? Because like my wife's grandfather is 96 years old and he grew up on a farm in the middle of Wisconsin. And he said, I grew up for the first 30 years of my life with social distancing. You had to walk outside to go to the bathroom. We didn't call people. We didn't see people. Like you went to town once a month. You got your groceries and
said hi.
Said hi.
Everybody saw that everybody else was still alive. You caught up on some news and you went home.
Exactly.
And then gossiped with your family about it.
Exactly. So in some respects, it's, and this is to belittle the difficulties of, owners and people that have lost their jobs and whatnot, but it's a throwback to, life used to be like this. You didn't have the option for driving around. I mean, if you go back far enough, this is what people did. They sat in their homes and, built their homes
that's a false equivalency, I think, but I do get it. I get it.
I know what you're saying. Yeah.
I mean, somebody put up recently, I'm heavy into Facebook right now because it's just one of the
only way you could
outlets
talk
that we
to
all
people.
Have. And keep up kind of with what people are thinking, how people are feeling. You can really get a pulse, I think, from my Facebook feed. I can, at least. And somebody put up a meme and it was about Anne Frank. And Anne Frank was in an attic, quiet, with nothing for over 700 days. And it really puts into perspective our challenge. But I don't want to say it could be worse because I don't like minimizing people's struggles. But people have gone through something like this and come out,
Wow.
Well, so it's,
wow.
It can be done.
Jeez,
it will
Trish.
be done. Here we sit.
Whew. That was heavy.
I know. And I almost said she came out okay, but according to history, I don't think that was the case.
I know what you meant.
Yeah. But these are our trials. And our kids have their new, uphill, walk to school, uphill 2 miles in the snow story for when their kids start to act up.
Right.
And every generation has its call to action. And this is, I suppose, ours.
Yeah. I mean, my wife and I keep reminding each other 5, 10, 20 years down the road, we're always going to remember that month, the 2 months where the kids never left the house. Either did we. And we got to spend nothing but 24/7 time with them. And in the moment that seems difficult when they're screaming in the background of a conference call.
What's the age of your kids?
I have a 6, 3, and 1.
So that's a totally different experience that I'm having with my 14 and 10-year-old. Right?
I would think. Are yours sort of indifferent? You're not there. They're doing their own thing.
So
mine
totally
kind of feel
chill.
like they're on vacation.
They're totally chill. So one of mine is a little more social than the other. Like he's the football social guy. He's having trouble with it. But my older guy has been wanting to stay home from school since he was 3. So he's just like, making popcorn and hanging out with me, playing Assassin's Creed. Like, we're just having the time. And my younger one he's still occupied. He's not, but he's having a little more, there's more like outbursts of frustration. Like, you could see how they manifest. But with little guys like yours, how are you keeping them entertained?
Well, my 6 and 3 are sisters, so they're pretty close, and they like to play Elsa and Anna. The 6-year-old has work that she likes to do, for kindergarten and reading and writing and math. And
what are her questions? Does she have questions about what's going on?
I don't think they really understand.
They don't see a change?
No, I mean, they know that they're home, but they're used to mom and dad being at home. So it's just that they're not going to preschool and they're not going to kindergarten. And
they haven't asked.
Well, they know. I mean, I forget what the context was, but even my 3-year-old the other day was like, "Wash your hands, Daddy. You don't want to get the virus."
Wow.
Like, she doesn't even know what the word means, but she knows
it's
that
out there.
We're doing extra hand washing and taking every precaution that we can. But I mean, they know we just don't. We want to do our part to not get other people sick, and we don't want to get sick, and that everybody else is doing the same thing. So, Cheshire at Darcy, they probably did this at other schools too, but at Darcy they put together a school directory of everybody's phone numbers and emails that wanted to opt into it, so you can FaceTime with your classmates. So, I miss Joe or I miss Sue or whoever, and we FaceTime with the parents that you can say hello and talk.
Oh, that's
to them
cool.
Stay in touch with.
It's so social. I'm like, oh, okay. That's still. I'm like, oh, that's too social for me. Do you have to talk to the parents first? I don't know. Corey'd be all up in that.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me none.
Ian might too. He's so social. Ian might be up for something like that. I don't know if they did that at Norton.
He
or
is
my son just
very social.
Yeah, my kids are not.
That's tough. We're going to lose a lot of the local, like, little small businesses, and everybody is, every community, right? Everybody's affected by this.
So explain something to me, just in the ways of a better way for me to understand. If a restaurant withstanding 3 months, like, let's say this goes on for 3 months and they can't come back, why would they not be able to come back in 3 months? What's prohibiting them?
Well, do they have the money to pay all their debts? Are they going to get evicted from the space that they lease? I mean, I go to New York sometimes for my job.
There's no evictions allowed.
There's no evictions allowed right now. And I don't know if that applies to commercial. It applies
or Connecticut
to residential. But it doesn't, I don't know if it applies to commercial. So if you're a restaurant and you're not paying your bills, they can lock the door. I mean,
but what, that landlord's going to get another tenant right now?
Well, maybe not right now, but
it takes 3 months for an eviction to go through.
That takes a lot longer than that.
So,
well, for a restaurant,
let's say
maybe
they
it's
don't
different.
Get evicted.
But
so what else? I just don't understand. So I'm trying to set expectations.
So here's another thing for restaurants, right? And we have to worry about this in my full-time job. Who are the people supplying the restaurants with their food? Are they staying in business?
I thought supply chain was okay. Don't freak me out, because supply chain is a huge one of my anxieties.
Didn't we see the Cheshire, the Chinese food place, because of their supply chain, they're taking a break?
I thought that was being politically correct, but I don't know. Okay, they did say suppliers. You're right.
Yeah, there's no way you can guarantee the availability of suppliers. I mean, it depends on the state, right? Mm-hmm. If you're getting your food out of California, which right now has pretty strict stay in place and essential businesses only, versus someplace like Idaho, which essentially has none in place at the moment.
Their hospitals, I bet, are full though. Are
your suppliers shutting down? Right. So can you
if you're not buying food, then that's one less bill. That's less money you have to make, because that's less money. That's less food you have to put out there. So, do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I think you're simplifying it a little bit, right? Because you're still.
I'm sure I am.
How do you catch up with your bills to pay the rent for 3 months that you lost? Right?
What if the landlord gives you 3 months?
Or not your employers. Are you paying your employees? Are you paying your insurance?
So you can't just shut down for 3 months. You can't just you just can't press pause for 3 months and then come back.
No, we tried to do that with our liability insurance for Small World Languages, and the company said, sorry, shut down because a virus is not covered under your policy. So we're stuck paying several $100s a month for insurance that we don't need.
Boy, this is going to have to change some contracts and the verbiage in some contracts in the future, huh? They're going to have to...
Yeah, not necessarily for the positive, right? I mean, if you're an insurance company and you didn't put those words into the contract and you got burned on this virus because everybody stopped paying, you're going to change it to add that verbiage. So
but if your business is insured and it cuts off, if your business is closed, you don't need that insurance. Let it cut off. No, yours you're saying you can't cut off. You have to pay whether you're open or not.
Right, whether I'm open for business or not. If Small World Languages went bankrupt and just closed our doors and said, sorry, we're not, or, I mean, there's nothing anybody can do, right? Insurance can't collect money, and, cell phone services would be shut off, and websites going to get shut off because none of the bills are getting paid. But you can't really push pause on some of those, either contractually or practically.
And even if you do push pause, you may not ever be able to get that ball rolling again on the other side.
Nope.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you're a restaurant, I mean, there's a lobster place in Wallingford that just decided to close their doors immediately and said, okay, they offered 50% off for the rest of the day.
Lobsters that they had in there, right?
They were closing at 6:00 today. Come get 50% off all food.
Eat this food.
Yep. And we're going to shut down. And when they come back, I mean, it's not a small chunk of change to stock 2 weeks worth of food right in your pantry so that you can feed your patrons when you open again. It takes an investment.
And some stuff stays, but not the refrigerated stuff. That's not going to still be good. That's all a loss.
Right.
But on a positive note, you can still listen to us.
And there's still plenty of places to order takeout from. So if you have it.
Yeah, but that's
a good way to.
Please just stop going out. Can we just.
No, I mean delivery.
Yeah, just do a delivery. Please stop going out. I know the general vibe of our shows have been off. I think that's all for obvious reasons. Every media outlet I've been listening to lately, every podcast, every news, every radio show, everything, the vibe has changed. I think we're all concerned, and rightfully so. We're doing what we can to be real. We're doing what we can to add some, shed some light or add some humor to a very trying and frightening situation.
Evolving.
Yes. Matt, I thank you for joining us this evening. Trisha, as always, it's wonderful to see you once a week. I can't wait till we're back face to face in the studio, staring at each other across a 3-foot
giving
desk.
Each other dirty looks.
Yes.
In person.
And, Matt will have to have it again. I love that we're getting to the point where we're having repeat offenders, so to speak.
Let's book them. I think we're open. We have an opening in June. It's going to all be good. You're going to be back to business.
Yeah.
Get you in June for the positives.
We got lots of cool things happening with the podcast. If you like our show, give us a 5-star review on
share.
Whatever podcast app you're using, be it Apple or Spotify. Shoot us an email at info@cheshirecast.com. If you want more information on Matt and Small World Languages, we'll send you that too. We'll post it with the episode. Anything else, guys, before we say
I wanted to ask Matt how he liked the Game of Thrones finale.
Didn't that happen a year ago?
I haven't seen him.
Oh, okay. Well, fair enough.
Yeah. Did you watch
mentioned
Lost?
It on the last show.
Did you ever watch Lost?
I know. Okay, fine. I already know where you're going. Yes, I agree.
I think it was better than Lost. But any show that gets that hype for the end of the show is not ever going to live up to any sort of expectation.
Well, if it means anything, I heard the author in quarantine is writing his little hands off. He said he's spending more time in Westeros than reality. So there's that.
Oh, boy.
Good. I'm looking forward to the books. They're great books.
They are. Corey, thank you so much for keeping this going.
Yeah.
The amount of effort you're putting into the technology and the motivation behind keeping this going through thick or thin, it takes a lot. I appreciate it, because if you weren't pushing it, I would be upstairs, playing video games with my kids.
I know.
So good on you.
Well, good.
And thanks for having me back, guys. I appreciate it. And I second what Trisha said.
No. Stop
really
with the
great to have
compliments.
you guys.
It's you guys, not me.
And Matt, if you think of any way that you want to voice an idea, let us know.
Yeah, I appreciate the work that you guys are both doing to make me do this. It's about you, not me. So.
It usually is about me. I'm used to that.
Yeah. It's true.
All right, guys.
All right.
Be well. Stay healthy. Stay inside. And wash your hands.
Yeah, wash your hands. Wash your butts.
And don't feel guilty about eating that extra ice cream. Enjoy.
Wash your face. We'll see you next time.
I got to go get back in my pajamas. I'm getting itchy.
We'll see you next time on the Cheshire Cast. Remember, always bet on black.
Like and share.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Let's get out of here! Like now!
Okay, so I'll see you later, huh? I'll give you a call.
Okay, see you later, pal.
Amigos, time to depart.